glad to see you today. It's lovely to have everyone here for this Lunch and Learn. It is our final Lunch and Learn of this semester. So that's very exciting in and of itself. And we were hoping that this might be uniquely placed so that as you're getting ready for your next courses, the ones that'll run in the summer and the fall, you can think about how you can use your Sandbox, your SBX, to help save time, but to still remain consistent with the updates that are being done, maybe department wide. But the way we're going to start off today is we are going to follow the story of Dr. Rivera today. She's a dedicated instructor. She wants to make sure that her courses are engaging. She wants to make sure they're up to date. But every semester she runs into the same problem. She's using dev courses and she just has to keep rebuilding them. And it's so much time for her and she's getting frustrated with it. She still wants to be updated. She still wants to make sure she has all of the newest department ideas, but she's just becoming frustrated. So we're going to follow Dr. Rivera's shift from someone who's always copying and fixing and copying and fixing to someone who's building once and reusing smartly. While we do our workshop today, our session today, we're going to talk about why the sandbox matters, maybe some common course copy challenges. We're going to do a little walkthrough of a sandbox with some template exploration. And we might even take that into how you could even make sure that you understand how to make these things happen for yourself. I see a lot of people in here who are seasoned, and I think that our conversation is going to be a lot about strategy. I think you'll know how to do this. It's just talking about the availability of it. And the problem that we're discussing is basically Dr. Rivera realized because what she was doing, she was copying from her old course. So she copied her fall course into her spring course, but she didn't realize that there had been updates made to the course, to the master course, to the dev. So her course didn't match her colleagues anymore. And it became frustrating for her students because students talk to each other and they say, oh, my teacher isn't doing that, my class isn't doing that, and they have these conversations. So that was the issue that she was having, is some of that inconsistency between the versions. And the goal is, though, one of the reasons that people have done that in the past, that they copy from, say, their fall course, is because they've done some work in there. They've got an instructor page, maybe they've updated the language and the schedule just a little bit because they know what their students need. Maybe they even added a formative assessment because they noticed that there was a hole that their students need to fill. And then they find out that they have to redo the course every time they copy from the master. So the temptation to copy from the fall to the spring is really very strong. So what we're thinking about is how we can make sure we can get those dev updates, which it sounds like people in this room, they're using those. But we still want to personalize our courses. We want our students to feel like we are the instructor. It's not just this course in a box. We want to reduce your repetitive work and be able to stay aligned with those guidelines. So what is the Sandbox? It's your personal development space. I saw some thumbs up, so people are aware of the Sandbox. Now, the thumbs up were that I know what it is. Give me one more thumbs up or a yes in the chat box if you actually use your Sandbox for anything. Some people know it, but they don't do anything with it. All right, okay. I see some good thumbs up. Excellent. Yes. Now, what do you do, Amanda, Brian, or Carol? What do you do in your Sandbox? What do you use it for?
So because I teach multiple sections, I use the Sandbox to develop things and hold things that are working. And then once I have the dev courses copied in, I move the things in that I need to. So it saves time in redoing the different things that, the normal opening of the semester things, or creating, self-assessments or things like that.
Terrific. So you've been doing it, you said, with some self-assessments or with some ways that you kind of flesh out the course just a little bit more?
Yeah, self-assessments, or playing with different templates to add things in, or storing some of the instructor supplemental materials so that way I can just pull them into different courses and not recreate that every semester.
Excellent, excellent. The benefit too, I mean, it's not student facing, so you can do whatever you want there. Your students aren't going to see it. It's a safe place. I heard Amanda mention templates. You can try out a few things. See if you like those flip cards, or see if you want to be able to see if you like a particular tool that's available to you. So our Sandbox materials, some of the things that we're really looking at are our instructor pages. We do that every semester. We have to update the instructor page. Now, I'm not saying that you should keep one around for 10 years either and never update it. I mean, you'll still want to review it in your sandbox and make sure that it's up to date with new information. Or if you had that, that old hairstyle, that side ponytail thing, although I hear they're coming back, I mean, that you had different things going on, that you might want to update that page. But you can use it for a few semesters and it'd be just fine. Sometimes schedules. Maybe your fall schedule is always the same and your spring schedule is always the same. So you keep those in your sandbox and you can just update the dates in there to be able to copy out. And for instance, when Carol was talking about having 4 different sections, I've already got my schedule created. I can just copy it in to those 4 different sections of classes, and I don't have to update the schedule in every single one of them. Now, some departments handle the schedule differently than a schedule page, so I do understand that. But and sometimes we have additional assignments or resources. Amanda was talking about things that she uses to um, augment her course, or maybe there's some other formatives that we have too. So those are some of the things that can live in your sandbox and you can use in your course. So now I'm really excited because Christina is going to give us a sandbox walkthrough.
In case you ever can't find your sandbox, if you search for SBX, you should be able to pull it up. Now, I'm not going to do that right now because with my role in Brightspace, if I search SBX, I see all of them. But you will only be able to see yours unless someone else has added you to theirs. And you can see too, for quick access, I have mine pinned. So I always, I don't need to dig around for it. It's right there at the top. So first, I'll just take a tour through my sandbox. I kind of feel like I'm inviting people to my house when I haven't cleaned up because my sandbox is where I go to experiment. You'll see it says biology, and that is because I was tinkering with image sizes to see if I could get the text where I needed it to be. If you've been to previous Lunch and Learns, you might recognize some of these announcements too. Again, just building examples somewhere where nobody else is going to see them and I'm not going to get in anyone else's way. Even in a dev course, there's other people in there, so they might not necessarily need my big example announcement. In my content, like a lot of you said, this is where I'll build things before moving them somewhere else. It's also where I test things. So a lot of these assignments, you'll see there's a bunch of ed puzzles in here. I was testing out when they slightly changed some things, and I wanted to test it in a safe place before actually putting it in someone's course. Even this right here, like it's a one sentence thing where there was a bug and I wanted to test what the fix might be. And this was a place where I could do that, where I wasn't going to tamper with anything that would affect anyone. But like,
Christina,
mhm.
you might have had a plan already, but did you want to briefly mention why your sandbox also might look different than someone else's because of new versus classic?
Right, yeah, I do have my sandbox in
Okay.
what Brightspace calls the new content experience. Yours might look a little bit different. I'll turn it off real quick. This is also a place where if you are planning, if you're currently using the view that looks like this, which is classic content, and you want to experiment with new content, I highly recommend doing that in a sandbox because again, it's not going to confuse students to suddenly switch your view partway through the semester. I am going to turn it back on though, just because that's slowly the direction we are moving. Brightspace is calling it new content for a reason, but they don't move particularly fast. So Classic will be around for a while longer. Um, but like a lot of you mentioned, Sandbox is a great place to build those getting started materials that aren't necessarily going to get copied over from your dev. You might get a template copied over, but it's not going to have your information in it. So I'm going to create an instructor page. If you've never pulled a template before, In the new content experience, you'll see select template. From here, you can browse and just play around, experiment with any templates. In our public files, we want to go to V5 because that is the most recent. If you're using older HTML templates, those are going to need to be updated before the spring semester. But the instructor information can be found in the Getting Started templates. And again, if you're in your sandbox and you just want to see what one of these looks like, you can throw one in a page, look around, see if it's what you want. I'm going to go here to instructor info though, and I will add it. So here I have the template. I can fill it out and then I can copy it into my live course offerings as many times as I need to without having to remake it every semester. I'll give it a title. We're not worried about capitalization right now. We're worried about speed. So I will save this really quick. So because a lot of us are familiar with sandboxes, I will say this now. Some of you may be wondering, can I just copy and paste this information into a page in my course rather than having to go through the course copy process? And the short answer is yes. The longer answer is yes, but if you were to add your picture here, it's going to save that image in your sandbox. And then hypothetically speaking, if you then deleted that picture later, what would happen is that picture would disappear from your live course, which you may not want. Or, if it's an old course, it doesn't matter. It might not make a difference. But that's one reason why you might not want to directly copy and paste a whole page. Now, if you were playing around with, like Laura said, like flip cards or another HTML element, you could just copy and paste what you needed into a new page. Or if you wanted to carry over the whole page, what we'll do is go to our, let me make this visible. What we'll do is we'll go to our course admin. So in my course admin, I know some people had said that other people will copy the course in for you, so you may not be as familiar with this process. Down here under Site Resources, Import, Export, and Copy Components is where you'll want to go. So I'm going to switch gears real quick. I realize I'm in the wrong course. You want to go to your target course first. So this is just a random other sandbox that nobody was using. Let me get back, course admin, import, export, copy components. Because what you will do is you will search from your sandbox for your sandbox from here. So again, for you, if you type in SVX, it will likely only bring up your sandbox. I need to type in mine because I can see everything. All right, so from here, I'll drag this over a little so you can see. I'm going to select that the course I am copying from is my sandbox, and I will select Add Selected. This first radio button is what we want. We want to copy components from another org unit. We want to copy from my sandbox. Now, I do not want to copy all the components because nobody needs my whole sandbox in their course. I want to select components. The page I want, that instructor information page that I just made, is in my content. Again, I
Hey,
don't want to copy
Christina,
all of it.
on that page, I did want to point out that select components is gray. And we normally have
Yes.
learned that if a box is gray, you can't click on it. But
Yeah,
in
that's a really good point
Brightspace,
down
you
here.
can click on gray boxes. So I just want to make sure
Let's
that
see
we
if we can do
pointed
it
that
again.
out.
Sorry, it's going to make me do it again. I hit back. But yes, no, that's a really good point. It is a little misleading that this gray is selectable. Okay, so I want to select components. I want to copy from my content, and I don't want to copy everything. I want to select individual items. So where it says here, include associated files, that's what will carry over that image file or that document or whatever it is, so that it will live in the target course. And if you delete it from your sandbox, it's not going to delete it wherever you copy. So from here, I'll hit continue again. And now I want to open up my getting started and I want to hit instructor information. So the one thing here that I'd like to point out, I can't deselect the module. I have to select both. Like it won't let me just do one. So I'm going into one where I have multiple. Like if I only wanted to copy this one page, it's going to bring that module over with it. But no, I'm just going to take this one and then I'll hit continue. So it'll ask you to confirm. Again, it's saying two because it's carrying over that module or unit, whatever the term differs depending on what version you're in. I don't need to worry about offset dates because there's no dates on my um, page. And then I will hit finish. And what it will do is you'll get this little progress bar showing that the copying is in progress. You'll see that there is a history here, which is something that can be helpful to you, especially if somebody else is copying things into your course. You can get back to this copy history. So if you're in a course and someone has copied things over from you and you're not sure what they've copied over, you can go back into your history and you can see who has copied what when. So now we can go and we can view the content.
Sometimes
You'll see
that's
it.
helpful too, because sometimes people find they have double assignments in their course or they have double things and they need to check that. You have to check for your grade book before you teach a course, right? To make sure it wasn't accidentally double copied. Because sometimes what
Yeah.
happens is someone copies it in and then maybe that was the chair who went in and was doing it. And then the instructional coordinator goes, oh, I need to go copy courses. Doesn't stop to look to see if it's already been copied. Didn't realize that the chair said, oh, I've got an extra 5 minutes. I'm going to copy courses. And then suddenly you have two copies in there. And if you go to the history, you can see that they had both been in the course and both been copies. So then at least it helps you realize, oh, we ought to clear this thing and start over because right now it's going to be too much of a mess. So the history can be really helpful.
Yeah, that's a good thing to check if you think something might be wrong. Another interesting thing to point out is that this sandbox is in classic content. Mine was in new, and I was able to copy over without an issue. But you'll see here again, it dragged that module over. If I wanted to move this into another module, I can move and I can adjust. And again, I'm messing with this very boring, mostly blank sandbox. But your information is here, just like it was in your sandbox, with all of the files copied over too. Are there any questions about course copying or anything in that process?
One of the things we talked about is when you copy in that new page, and people who have done this before, you probably notice it will put it at the bottom of your list.
Hmm.
So in this one, it's a very short list, so it doesn't matter. But if you notice, Christina just was able to just kind of drag it around and put it where she wanted to. And that's a good
Hmm.
point. So sometimes I've had people in the past that they tried to copy in a page and they go, where is it? I don't see it. It didn't show up because it didn't automatically put it in where it was supposed to, where they had expected it to go. And when you have a course that has 7 modules or more, you have to scroll down to the bottom of those modules in order to see the one that you just copied. And then it does involve a little bit of manual moving around. So I just want you to be aware of that so that you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I did it wrong, I failed, and then you end up with 4 copies of it in your course because you think, oh, I must have to do it again because it didn't take. So just recognizing that when you move a file or a little group of files, it'll put them at the bottom of the list, whether you're a
And
new
just
or classic, either one. Yeah.
right. And yeah, both work with the drag and drop. And just to show real quick what I was talking about, if I go back to import, export, copy components, now that I have copied into this course once, I get this link that says view history, and I can see that selected components were copied today, just a few minutes ago. So that too, if you've copied something multiple times because you thought there was a mistake, you can see how many copies of it are hiding out in your course.
The idea is, as we just saw the templates, the one thing I really like that Christina pointed out is that in your sandbox, you can explore some of the templates that are available. And some of them have great tools on them, for instance, flip cards or some other interactive, some little quizzes that you can put on a page so that as soon as they're reading the material, they can answer a few thought questions about what you did. And it actually makes that page interactive instead of just one that they would read. And it gives you a chance to be able to play with those ideas before you actually have them in a live course. Um, and if you're using the templates to copy over to your live course, that can reduce some decision fatigue that you might have at the time because you might have been copying, re-editing, things like that. I did want to tell you, by the way, I had a lot of fun making these images. If you notice, it is supposed to be the same person in each of these images. Her outfit's basically the same most of the time, but I used AI and I found that first picture of her, and I said, okay, I need the same person in these different positions doing these different things. So she started off sitting there just in a chair, and then I said, well, I need her at the starting line of a race, and I need her with an idea above her head, things like that. So that was a lot of fun. Gemini helped me with that. This was one of my favorite pictures that the AI made for me. I said, yeah, I said, and she has a great idea. Maybe you put a symbolic light bulb above her head. And this is what I got. But it's really now she's excited. Dr. Rivera is excited because she's figured out, okay, I can get the dev shell, but I can still personalize it with these tools that I can build in my sandbox. I can play there. No one else can see it. I can make sure that it's an idea that I like. And Jack, you made me think too. You could put a picture in there. Maybe you have a fall themed picture, and maybe you have a spring themed picture that so you have two different instructor pages, and you use either one depending upon what semester it is. So there are still ways that you can individualize it. Jack, what did you want to add? I
I was
saw
just
you
going
on
to
mute.
say, like for like completely online courses, if you put a picture of yourself, it kind of they know who they're talking to when they're interacting. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. Or even a little mini video. For some of my async courses I've taught, I've made sure I use some videos so they can see I'm a live person, I'm a real person, and that they can feel that connection too. All right, so then here's the before and after. Before, she would copy old courses. She had to fix this outdated info all the time. She had to rebuild her materials. Now she copies from the dev. She imports strategically from the sandbox, and she's done. Look at her. She's got time. She's looking at her watch and she's smiling. She's got time to do all kinds of things. Go have some coffee or I don't know, read another book. I don't know. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate seeing you on this beautiful day and before the rain starts. And I hope that you have a really terrific rest of your day and rest of the semester, and that you find peace and or excitement, whichever you're looking for.